Hey, starting to go live here, so I just wanted to. Wow, I freaking screwed up, everybody. I was gonna be on with a friend of mine that I knew since I was a kid. I'll wait for a little bit. I do want to tell this story, but I'll just tell you this story real quick. I screwed up and I put the wrong date. I had every intention to do the live stream right now, and it was brought to my attention that, hey, Jessica, I see that you showed up. So hang on one second here. I'll just send you, this is kind of how this works. So I can actually pop your message on here, as you see here. And you can say, all right, I can actually message you in the comments as well. Oops. Yeah, so anyways. Yeah, basically, typically the way that this works is most of the people just kind of trickle in as the live stream continues to go on. A lot of my listeners are actually oftentimes listening to other channels and their live streams, and then once those go or they're done with those live streams, they end up coming to this live stream, and yeah, so be it. Anyways, so Jessica, just so you know, you are welcome to come on here, and I'll tell you how to do that if you're interested. So basically, if I, let's see here. So basically this link right here, if you follow the link that says StreamYard, blah, da, 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 or whatever, you can actually follow that link. Now, anybody, okay, hold on a second. True Hope says, it said live from Chaz. Oh, yeah. Chaz, I'm Chaz, I guess you could say. So anyways, so the reason I'm coming on today, and for anybody that might have seen my my scheduled event, might have seen that Jessica was actually scheduled to talk with me and discuss the issue of Black Lives Matters. Now, of course, it is an issue today, and everybody knows it. It's more than an elephant in the room. It is something that is quite disturbing, the way that things are being handled right now. And I'm not just saying that from one perspective. I'm saying it from every angle. People are struggling to connect, and they're struggling to understand one another. And I am going to be talking about culture. Yeah, True Hope. I'm Charlie. I don't know exactly what you're referring to, but so just real quick, I have been kind of talking about this issue of Black Lives Matters for, well, since a lot of the riots broke out, and just recently after the COVID stuff. And I say after because I feel like it's, you know how like waves, when you're at the beach, you see one wave and then it comes back in, and then another wave. So we're kind of in between the lull. I believe that there's going to be another wave of COVID-19 or COVID-20 or whatever you want to call it. So anyways, but so like, again, I'm not very political in most cases, but I'm very aware of what's happening around me, and I'm trying to stay aware of this situation because I don't want to see division in the world, because I don't want to be divided. I want to be coming together. People are they need to love each other. And anyways, so this is where I'm at. You know, I started talking about it and saying how I love Black people. Black people belong. And I believe white people belong. I believe Hispanic people belong. We're all part of one people, I guess you could say. You know, like the old Bob Marley song, "One Love." I don't know if that's the same thing, anyways. But the point is, there's a lot of people that are saying there's racism that is alive today, like more so than it ever has. Well, I don't know if it's ever has been, but there's so much racism that's still alive today, even in the day when we are supposed to have gotten over it, right? Going back to slavery and gosh, I mean, there's so much stuff that's happened over the years, and slavery has evolved into people just completely just looking at black people like they're inferior, and that's kind of that thing that kind of has been the residual, remnants of what has actually come from that. In fact, I even heard just recently the craziest thing, which I had no idea. And again, this whole thing is not necessarily going to be just my agenda when I am talking about this. This is going to be something I'm trying to keep an open mind. I'm trying to understand other perspective. So if I come across like I'm biased or just projecting my own belief system, I'm not intending it to be, you need to listen to me and hear my perspective. That's not how I'm operating. I'm trying to operate from the perspective that I believe everybody has a valuable position and everybody should be listened to. I don't think everybody's right. I don't think I don't think truth is subjective, but I do feel like oftentimes, 5 people could be looking at the same evidence and they could all draw different conclusions. So I'm going to look at this philosophically speaking, because I know that there's a philosophical approach to this, because I have heard a lot of angles to this. Now, so here's the thing. If I'm a white guy, right? Do I look white? Do I look like I'm Scandinavian? You might say I originated from my great grandparents came from Sweden. So I guess you can say I'm Northern European. But funny thing is, my sister actually got a DNA test, and it says we have Nigerian in our blood. Funny thing, huh? So, I mean, just because my skin color looks white doesn't mean I don't have any Nigerian blood. Just so you know, I just want you to know that maybe I did. Maybe that's the little bit of qualifications I have to get on my soapbox here. So, and by the way, is anybody? Well, whatever, Jessica. Just because you're looking at me, you're drawing a conclusion. You can't prove that I'm white. Anyways, we are all related. Interesting that you say that. So, for those of you who are not aware, Jessica is somebody that is, we go way back. Her and my sister were very, very good friends in high school. And we went to church together, and we were, I probably have known Jessica since I was maybe 12, 13, 14. I'm not sure. Oh my gosh. You're only saying that because I just went out in the sun today, got a sunburn. But then again, if I had the amount of melanin that a black person would have, I probably wouldn't be pink like this. So maybe you're onto something. So anyways, so really the reason I'm doing this live stream is because I was going to have Jessica come on. And here's the deal. I'm kind of coming at this from a different angle. I'm trying to understand the perspective that she was projecting on on a Facebook forum, or she was just putting a meme or some sort of picture out there that was talking about being somebody who is caring about all lives or Black lives. I don't even know if it even mentioned Black lives now that I think about it. But she says you can't fault me for being, or this is what people are trying to say is wrong with left-wing liberal. I forget exactly how it came across. Forget it. The point is, I'm just saying it projected as kind of a controversial thing if you're coming from a right-wing perspective. So if I was to say I'm somebody who leans right, politically speaking, I don't really care about politics as much as I think my brother cares about politics. I care about what is happening in our world, or the implications of what is happening in the world. So if we're actually hold on a second. So Thomas Walker just showed up. Hey, what's going on? So I'm just going to keep kind of ranting here. I'm kind of checking on the chat here and there, but to be honest with you, I got to get a kind of the groundwork laid as far as why I'm doing this. So, okay. So we kind of started talking. I decided that I was going to post kind of my response to, yeah, Jessica says she's liberal left. And I'm probably on the opposite side of the spectrum. My interpretation of liberal left is actually, I guess you could say government basically has pretty much involvement in just about everything. And so conservative actually means less spending on government policies and whatnot. So, but liberal actually is more freely spending. So to say somebody is liberal, to me, just says, okay, they're part of the left thinking. So the left thinking to me is, so my knee-jerk response to her was, I think all lives matter, and this is the common white guy response apparently. And I started bringing up abortion, and I didn't want to really talk about abortion. I just was trying to make a point of, I feel like little lives don't matter, and it's the liberals specifically that I'm trying to hone in on as far as them not caring about the small lives. Small lives don't matter. They're the ones that are the irrelevant. So if somebody was to say Black Lives Matters, well, my knee-jerk thought is like, wait, what about the little lives? The small lives matter too. So, and when all that was said and done, Jessica is in complete agreement with me. She was raised around parents that were all about, understanding, or people understanding what it was to be, or like conception is actually life or whatever. So obviously I was preaching to the choir a little bit when I chimed in there, but so the point is, I decided that because Jessica is very strong, has some strong feelings about this, about Black Lives Matters, and I'm not just saying like the lives that they do matter, but I'm saying these are the matters of the Black Lives Matters. Anyways, I wanted to address some of the things that a lot of the knee-jerk responses that people have, and it often stems from a philosophical perspective, and I'm going to point out some of those things. So oftentimes I'll point out to people that you are operating from your bias. and you're going to project your belief system on just about everything that you are looking at in this reality. So, and Thomas, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Equality involves, I mean, that basically is suggesting that everybody is involved in that. So really the position I'm somewhat defending is that you can interpret the information based on a feeling. I'm going to say that I don't really understand interpreting through feelings as much as I understand interpreting through analysis, I might say. And my analysis says that every person that is made under heaven or under God or from God is equal to God. So if God is the judge, he's not going to look at like, oh, this person is a little less because they had black skin. No, actually, I believe that God is going to view them in the same light, from the same love filter. So God loves everybody equally. And I'm going to say God does love, but he also judges everybody equally as well. So I think everybody is judged through the same. And it's interesting, like some people aren't aware is that when you judge, when somebody judges, that they will be judged with the same measure of judgment. But in more often than not in the Bible, it actually says that, you know, we will be forgiven. Oh my gosh, don't you do this to me. Okay, Adriana, what's going on? Thanks everybody for stopping in. It's this is just a rant. So Jessica and I got on the phone and we just started talking a little bit about this stuff. And to be honest with you, I did my best to try to listen to her perspective. And mind you, Jessica's white. I mean, we kind of grew up in the same area, and we went to a school that probably had more white and Asian people than there were black people. I think that there was probably maybe 5 or 10 people that were black. I'm not sure. We went to Esperanza High School. She went to Esperanza when I was like still in junior high, I think. So anyways, so the nature of live streams is hiccups. So I apologize. I get distracted because I have somebody freaking messaging me from another video saying, responding to the video. I'm like, oh, hey. So anyways, so me and Jessica were talking, and what does that mean, Jessica? Latinx. Lots of Latinx. Anyways, so we kind of went back and forth a little bit, but I for the most part, I basically was saying I don't feel that. So let me just state my position on it real quick, and then I'll kind of get into her. Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. I've already moved on to the next topic, so I forgot about that one. So anyways, going back to, okay, so I'm going to tell you my perspective on Black Lives Matters, and I've kind of already done it in a couple other videos. And so again, I've kind of laid the groundwork a little bit. I talked to Jessica, and she was like saying, "Oh, you obviously don't get it." But this is my position, and I'll tell you what it is. Okay, so and it all goes back to kind of the beginning, or the fundamentals of everybody's culture. And I say culture because culture's where you originated from. You know, you started like in a certain town, or you know, you were raised by your parents who were fundamental Christians or something, or atheists, or you know, they oftentimes you're going to be kind of the produce of your, you know, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, right? So I think that you know, and again, this is I'm kind of mixing up thought processes, but you know, the tree bearing fruit. This is another topic I'm going to talk about. But so I believe, or going back to the beginning, when I, you know, my parents were divorced. I was brought in to a situation when my dad married his second wife, who had 6 kids. And I happen to be the second to youngest out of 10 kids combined. And, you know, there was a lot of abuse in that situation. I did bounce back and forth to parents. My mom was extremely poor. She was kind of an alkie. You know, she would drink all the time. And she felt like she wasn't a fit parent later on in my life, so she pawned me off on my dad. My dad was a little more financially stable, you might say, but he didn't give a shit about me. I'll be honest with you. He didn't give a crap, because he was more interested in just trying to tread water, because he and his second wife were having a shitty marriage. So, okay. And, you know, I think that he liked being around his kids, but only on his terms, or if it somehow appeased or appealed to him. I freaking wrote a song where I was talking about, like, it goes, I might make you proud when I'm singing out loud. So basically that song was dedicated to my dad when I freaking was so freaking upset that my dad only seemed to care when I played my guitar when other people are around. I might make you proud when I'm singing out loud. And, you know, then he'll start saying, oh, I have all these kids that are worship leaders. And I don't resent my dad at this point. I just feel like it was a series of unfortunate events, or series of unfortunate situations. So my mentality is that I was around abuse, and I didn't mention, but my eldest step, you know, we'll just say that there was some abuse. Okay. I don't have to go into all the details, but anyways, so that abuse actually freaking got to my head a little bit when I was younger, and I felt like I literally was on the verge of, you know, committing suicide when I was 13, because I hated my life. I actually wanted to, you know, there was a situation where my stepmom freaked out on me because she hated her life being married to my dad. And my dad would rub it in and say, oh, my kids are better than your kids. They never get in trouble and stuff like that. And this is actually the segue into her kids being racist. So yeah, racism is alive in the world. And there is people who are white supremacists. You know, I've never been to prison, but I know that there is racism in prison. You know, there's a depiction of racism in prisons in all the TV shows that I've watched. And you know, my best friend in junior high, when I lived in Apple Valley, California, he was a mulatto. So he actually has a white mom and a black dad. So I'm not sure exactly what you're referencing. The way I operate, it just kind of one thought after the next, and I just move on. So I forget exactly what I was referencing when you are saying that. But Anyways, so I ended up when my dad and stepmom were on the verge of divorce around that time. She just was always constantly like, it was always like walking on eggshells, and I could hardly survive in that atmosphere. And my stepbrothers, two of them were actually kind of racist, I'll say that. And they always talked about how they use the N-word when making reference to the black people and things like that. I never got sucked into that mentality. I'll just be honest with you. But with that said, I'm not. Am I guilty by association because I was around them growing up? I don't know. I mean, obviously, you can be guilty by association under the eyes of the law. So but I feel like I've separated myself from that. I always separated myself from it. I would always pull myself into my room and just freaking practice my guitar for 3-4 hours a day, and I would just sing, and I actually felt like it was my number one focus. I didn't care about violence, and I didn't care about smoking weed. I didn't care about just because I was part of that situation didn't mean I was that situation. It was not my identity, I'll tell you that much. So that goes back to a very important discussion that I would like to have with everybody, is that identity is the position from which you actually operate. Your identity is your filter of belief. So if I believe that I'm a white male that was abused as a child, and if I believe that I have some sort of like I wish that somebody had treated me better when I was a kid, or this issue of entitlement and things like that. Believe it or not, this entitlement actually is another thing. So like identity and entitlement, these are two key words. If anybody wants to take notes, write those two things down. Identity and entitlement. These are two words that control people, right? And I feel like if your identity controls who you are, then that's just the way you operate. And sometimes people feel like they are owed something. So therefore, entitlement kicks in. So this is an example where I could have let my identity rule my situation and say, I'm entitled to something better. And I'm going to say I probably did that to some degree. I felt like I deserve better because I know that there's a lot of things in this world. Like I had friends that freaking said, "Oh, I cannot believe, you were in that situation." I mean, I never had to go through that. My family life was perfect. So when someone starts saying white privilege, I'm like thinking, I don't think I fall into that category, but maybe these other people do. I don't know. Maybe they don't. So, but then again, I honestly think that this identity thing, if someone is going to label me with white privilege, I feel like I guess I do have an automatic knee-jerk response. Is that, wait, hold on. Do you know anything about me, number one? And number two, is it even an issue of an individual problem? Or is it an issue of a collective problem? I guess you can have one or the other. You can have both at the same time, simultaneously. So if you are I'm trying to interact with Jessica at the same time here. So the belief that you deserve better is vastly different from feeling entitlement. Okay. I just to pull up the definition of entitled. Let me just pull it up real quick, because sometimes let's defining our terms. Actually, it helps gain understanding. So definition of, this is why I like doing live streams, because I can interact with people. Entitlement. Okay. The fact of having a right to do something. The fact of having the right to do something. Full entitlement to fees and maintenance should be offered. The amount to which a person has a right. Annual leave entitlement. The belief that one is inherently deserving of privileges or special treatment. I think it falls into that category to say that I'm entitled to a better life, because it's consistent with what the founders of the country said, that we all have freedom, the right to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I didn't fall into that category, so I felt like maybe I am entitled to that. So this sent me down a road of getting pissed off and feeling like, hold on a second. I think that, I have to operate for my own self. This is my situation. So I'm going to learn from my situation, and I'm going to just continue to, refine my progress and figure out what I need to do to help my situation better. Now I've added a wife and I've added a couple sons to this scenario. And now I'm realizing that it's a lot further than beyond just me. I'm not the only one that's involved in this scenario. And then I started, so my wife and I, when we had our 10-year anniversary, we did our vows. And I did the 10-year vows or whatever. And I said, I vow to have kids with you, even though we didn't have any kids yet. And 2 kids later, it's like, really? And then the other thing was I kind of identified a couple things in relationships that, I feel like are what deteriorate a relationship. I can't freaking talk. When or erode a relationship, I'll use that word, is number one, when somebody is stubborn with pride. And then number 2 is if you're operating from selfishness. Those 2 things prevent anybody from having the proper relationship. So this Black Lives Matter movement is an issue of relationship, in my opinion. I feel like they believe that, and I say they because I'm not a black guy, which reminds me of that movie, what was it? I can't remember what it was called, but it was Jack Nicholson and Anger Management. That's what it was. Like where he got on the airplane and he says, "You people are always on," and then he's like, "You people? What is that supposed to mean?" And the thing is, it brings me back to that freaking Key and Peele comedy skit where one of them's like texting. He's like, "Oh, we got to do. Come on, man, let's do this," or something like that. And he was like saying, "Let's do this. What is that supposed to mean? What did you want to do?" And then he types back a message, and then he responds in a way that's like a misunderstanding, and he basically takes it the wrong way, and then he starts escalating it in his mind to the point where he starts misreading the situation to the point where it gets to the point where he's like enraged. He's getting ready to fight this guy. But then finally he's like, "All right, let's go. Let's do this." And at the end of it, he met this guy at the bar. He's like, "Hey, you ready to go?" And he's like, yeah, look, you want me to buy the first round? He's like, what? And so the point of that skit is that people misread each other and label each other incorrectly sometimes. And hold on, I'm gonna catch up on these chats. Let's see. It's okay to believe that you deserve better than you have when you have been abused. I try to disconnect from that nowadays, because I feel like the more I feel like, oh shit, my life was horrible growing up. You know, the more I think about that, the more I feel angry, and that angry manifests into something that actually makes me feel, I guess in some ways it motivates me to be a better dad. So I mean, there has been a lot of positive to it, but at the same time, I have a lot of things like short fuse sometimes, or I can't handle when somebody's impatient with me. I have issues with that sometimes. And I wish that I had a little more patience in that area. But I kind of feel like I got that from my mom, because she, you know, she actually, there's a story of, I always refer to my mom as the one who was the rock as far as loving me and making me feel like I was special. Even though she wasn't that great of a parent either, but she tried her best with what she had. She was abused as a kid. But I remember when I was in elementary school, and this goes back to another one of those things of misunderstanding. This freaking kid was writing on my paper, like across the desk, and I was like 5th grade or something. And then I was like, stop. No. I'm sorry. I was the one that was writing on his paper. That's what it was. I was screwing around. And we were doing some arts and crafts thing. And he says, stop it. And I'm like, oh, sorry. And then he's like, stop. And then he freaking hits my crayons on the floor that were on my desk. And then this other kid freaking came by and just kicked him. And all these crayons went all over the floor. And, you know, the stupid thing is that got me suspended for 2 days. And then I had a meeting with the principal where they said I was a bad kid. And the principal started scolding me right in front of my mom. And she was asking me, so what'd you do? Did you throw your crayons all over the floor? And I'm like, no, somebody else freaking kicked them when that kid Jose I remember the kid's name. His name was Jose. He freaking whacked my crayons off the desk, and the other kid, Patrick. I have memories of like the weirdest things, and I can remember all the little details when I was a kid. But which is interesting, because a lot of trauma actually stays in your mind. You have really vivid memories. But I was trying to explain to the principal that, no, I did not do that. You're misunderstanding the situation. And then she's like, you listen to me. I know what you did, and you need to own up to it. And right in front of my mom, she was doing that. And my mom said, excuse me, you don't talk to my son like that. And she was like on the verge of like almost crying. And I'm turning all pink because I'm like turning. No, I was already pink. I got sunburn. Or not burn. I just got a little bit of sun today. But anyways, so so anyways, the principal asked me to step out, please. Can you go sit in the chair outside? And so I went out there, and I'm like embarrassed, like, oh my gosh, my mom just flipped out on the principal. And but then later, both of them come out, and my mom's like, okay, Charlie, let's go. And I'm like, okay. Later, she says, yeah, you know, I'm sorry I freaked out like that. But that's kind of the mentality that I have, is I feel like sometimes I get snappy when I feel like there's injustice, right? So anyways, so Thomas Walker says, identity means many things in a lifetime. That's a good point. First, one must not only identify with color only. See, and again, I feel like you can identify with things on, you know, a physical level. You can understand things on a physical level, but there are multiple layers to understanding these kind of things. And I tend to think, I don't even think on the physical level as much as I think on the level of understanding somebody's heart, because out of the abundance of your mouth, your heart speaks, or out of the abundance of your heart, your mouth speaks, is what I meant to say. So I believe that there's, you know, really the content of the heart is really what matters here. So first, one must not only identify with color only, because you are more than color, that you are told many times over, life to justify yourself. Okay. Sorry. Simply, okay, here's the second part. Simply identity only, or by only color is overrated. Do you agree? And that's kind of why I'm talking about this. Because I believe that people have strengths. You know, there's a point in time where I felt like if I was black, I would probably have the edge in sports. Is that stereotyping? Or is it reality? Because black people often have better genes when it comes to, you know, better strength and agility and things like that. And it has nothing to do with race. It has to do with identifying what things are for what they are. Now, not all black people are like that. Some Mexicans are more like that, you know, having a better physical ability. But some white people have better physical ability. I used to run with this white guy. So like when I was in high school, I started running. I used to run all the freaking time. And I ended up running cross country and track. I was kind of a big dude to run cross country, but I ended up running like a 5:15 mile. Which was pretty fast compared to like everybody else, but there was other guys that were just so fast. And I ran with a guy that ran a 4:09 mile. He was a white guy. I think that if I had black guys that run on my team, I'm sure they would have been faster. But anyways, so so I don't know. I'm kind of veering off a rabbit trail here. I want to go back to the concept of identity. And so Dominic is saying identity and judgment of identity is complex and has to be. Otherwise, life would be really boring. So the saying, judge not lest you be judged, in the same manner that you judge others, you will be judged. I believe that if you have a judgmental spirit, I believe that people are going to hold that same judgment against you, okay? So, and that's kind of what's happening in some ways with this Black Lives Matters thing, is that, and forgive me, I'm kind of like a soap opera in the sense that I'm jumping from one topic to the next, but it comes back around so that I can fill in the gaps of all the things that I'm missing. So if you don't mind a soap opera, it is kind of dramatic, some of the stuff I'm talking about. But I hope that you guys bear with me and try to understand that I'm not trying to just jump around. I'm kind of, you know, following my train of thought here. So, you know, I didn't really grow up around a lot of black people because most of the areas I lived in were, you know, mostly white or Mexican. Because most of the areas that I lived in were in California when I was growing up, and California was literally Mexico before it was ever the United States. And so basically, you know, all the areas around there were basically Mexican cities, and or you know, the plantations or whatever from the saints you know, like Saint Diego and Saint Francisco, you know, things like that. So anyways, hone in my thoughts here. This is the live stream. Here, maybe I'll read some more comments here. Momentum carries you. Okay. Yep. Momentum is a good thing. Yeah, I agree. You get what you give in a sense. Okay, so I'm glad you're reminding me of that. Okay, so when you project a certain way of thinking, you're going to actually, people are going to judge you on that same idea. Okay, so let me fill in kind of the rest of my backstory, because I want you to understand kind of what happened. So when I was walking to school in junior high, when I was living in Apple Valley, California, I was walking with a friend of mine, and this black kid runs up to us with a knife. He's like, "Get on your knees." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "I told you, get on your knees." And I'm like, "Dude, what the heck, man? Are you freaking kidding me?" I was like thinking he was joking around. And my friend who was walking with me, he was like so scared. He was like, "Oh my God." Ah. And he jumped down on his knees, and he's like, "I told you, get on your knees." So I got down on my knees, thinking like, okay, this kid's like being stupid. Like, are you kidding me? And then he freaking ran away like really fast and was laughing like, "Ah, I made you get on your knees," or whatever. And you know, in my mind, I was thinking, yeah, I knew that he was screwing around, but my friend was sobbing, like he was so scared, like, "Oh, my life flashed before my eyes," or something like that. And see, the thing is, perception is reality. Have you ever heard that statement? Perception is reality. If your reality says, like, that guy might have said, like, "Oh my gosh, that was a black guy, and I thought that he was going to kill me because my parents told me that black guys are all evil and violent. So obviously he was going to kill me." So I just got away with, I was so close to death right then. But my perception was like, oh, well, he just confirmed that I was not, you know, my knee-jerk thought was that he was screwing around. So I was right. But did I ever feel like I felt like black people were, in general, were the problem? Or did I feel like I was walking through a neighborhood that was a bunch of ex-con housing, and you know, that was probably one of the kids of the ex-cons. I don't know. I mean, again, I don't know how to project my feelings on that, other than there was a black kid that freaking pulled a knife on me. All right. So now, looking back on it now, it's like, do I really identify black people as violent? No, I don't. I actually feel like, you know, like, say for instance, when I was 5, I got attacked by a dog and I was mauled. I got a freaking, I don't know if you can see, like, it's hard to see with a computer, but when I shave, there's like a kind of zigzaggy scar right there. A dog ripped my lip off almost. It tore out my legs. I have like holes in my legs that were sewed up. And you know, that I could have grown up being so scared of dogs, but I realized that one dog attacked me in my life. The rest were pretty friendly. And so my perception is my reality, right? My perception is that not all dogs are violent. And it can depend on the upbringing of the dog. It can depend on the breed of the dog. So a lot of white people might perceive that black people have more problems with the law. because they often run into black people that are getting in trouble. Maybe that's the way that the cops perceive. Maybe they were trained that way. Maybe the cops were trained to believe that they need to keep an eye on suspicious characters, and their freaking suspicious, perception is that, oh, black people are suspicious because I've seen a lot of black people get in trouble. So this goes back to an issue of, can you really judge a people group or a skin color based on the concept of what certain people within that people group are doing? Or can you define a movement on things such as that? Can you define a movement on the perceptions that people are having? Now, I believe that perception is the starting point to somebody's bias projection. And I think that if you're projecting your bias that, like, all I've ever known is black people to be abusive, so now I got to do something about it. They're inferior to me. I hate black people. All they've ever done is hurt my family, or something like that. It's stupid. If you are that ignorant to say that a black person, a black people group falls into that category, then I'm sorry to be associated with that white guy. Because I didn't do that. I could have easily done the same kind of thing. I was raised by a bunch of abusive abusive people, and all I've ever seen is that black people are rude to me, or something like that. I mean, the thing that does stick out to me that bothers me a little bit is that black people are actually, the black people that I know are really cool people. Like, I have a really good friend at church that's black, and we relate on, we talk about some pretty deep issues. And the only reason I feel like I'm safe to even talk about this, because for the longest time, I didn't feel like I had the ability to speak about this. Like, it is not my right. Like, I have to walk on eggshells about it. I want to, by the way, I'm ignoring the chat for the time being because I feel like it's very distracting for me. So if anyone's asking me questions, I'll address them here in a little bit. Or you can talk amongst yourselves too. But again, anybody that sees Jessica in the chat here, my intention was that I was going to be talking with her, which I still could talk with her eventually, but I actually have her website that I was trying to pull up, and for some weird reason, I'm not able to get it to pull up here. Hold on a second. Keeps saying we belong to each other.org. Is that the one? It's not .org, is it? Nope, it doesn't work. So Jessica, I'm having trouble viewing your website from my computer for some reason. I'm just not able to pull it up for some reason. So anyways, so again, I'm kind of jumping around, and but I'm just trying to kind of lay the groundwork as to why I feel what I feel up to this point. Okay, so and again, there's more to it. I think that I feel like sorry, I just noticed that Jessica said something real quick here. Black Lives Matters movement didn't define it. Systemic racism defined it for the Charlie. You gotta do your homework. Okay. And we've established this. Invite your black friends on your show after you've done some research. And I fully intend to. I want to hear, and again, the nature of this show is to hear other perspective. And that's why I wanted to bring you on, believe it or not. And I want to give you another opportunity if you're interested. Follow the link right here, StreamYard. Just click on it, and you can actually jack into the live stream. And that's for Jessica if you want to come on. Because I feel like you say that you're not really in a position where you feel like you're qualified, or maybe you need to do more research or something. But I feel like you defend that position better than I would. So it's hard for me to, and again, when you say do research, just remember, I'm looking at it through my lens of interpretation, my perception, my reality. So if I'm interpreting all the information that you're presenting to me as like, and again, it's easier for me to relate to a person than it is to have me relate to a, like a website or a paragraph or something. To be honest with you, I can hear people's emotions better come out of their mouth than I can hear from a page. Or, it's easier for me to watch a video because then I can see somebody's expression and understand the hurt and their pain. That's why I say send me some videos so that I can see their expression and see their hurt and their pain. But again, I know that I'm coming at it from a white guy perspective, and perhaps, oh my goodness, Jessica is here.
Hi.
Oh my goodness.
I have no makeup.
You can't even handle not coming on now. You're like, I can't let this Charlie guy talk about this BS anymore. I'm just kidding.
Well, I'm hoping that maybe I can help you streamline your thoughts, because you are all over the place, and it's been an hour.
I know. I'm surprised that people are patient enough to even listen to me.
I don't know.
It's easier. It's easier for me to talk to people than it is to talk to myself. Just so you know.
So if I may, can I
go
chime
for
in?
it.
So those of you watching,
hold on. Can I introduce you to them real quick? This is Jessica. This is the person that I was telling you about that I've known for like 20 plus years. We haven't really talked very much over the last 20 years, but my sister and her were like best friends in high school. And, we were very connected back then. I remember, doing everything together. Going to Knollwood. I think they tore that place down the last I checked.
Dunzo. Knollwood's Dunzo.
Yeah. So anyways, but we kind of originated from a similar background. So, but I think we kind of went different directions a little bit. And I want you to kind of give your perspective on Black Lives Matters and maybe a little bit about yourself too.
Well, so what I'd first like to say is why I was hesitant to come on. It's very important to me, because I know it looks kind of weird that I'm in the chat. I'm like typing all this stuff, and why not just talk? But I've done my homework, and I'm not here to do it for you. And I've given you, Charlie Forbes, many resources to investigate on your own. But what I hear you saying still, to my ears and my perception, sounds ignorant. And you sound like a white bro just defending the plight that you've been through in your life, which is horrible. I didn't know those things about you being suicidal, and I didn't even know you had that many step siblings. I am getting to know you more through this, as you invited me to listen to your platform and participate in it. And here, for those watching and listening, if you're still with us,
what are you suggesting?
No, I'm actually very pleased with how many people are hanging on. Yeah. I do not feel like it's my time for the microphone. And Charlie made this beautiful thumbnail saying Jessica Gerardo has something to say. She's an advocate for Black Lives Matter. But I am still a student. I am still learning. So I can tell you the things that I know and the things I'm learning about. I can tell you about my own experiences. I mean, we could talk for hours about it. We have, you and I, really. But here's the deal. Black Lives Matter movement isn't about Charlie Forbes. Black Lives Matter movement isn't about being defined by skin color from the people in the movement, because they didn't set the terms of the definition. Someone else did it for them, Charlie. You mentioned our founding fathers. Many of them were slave owners. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And slaves were not brought here of their own volition. They were brought here as cattle.
Yeah.
As free labor. And then when they were freed, they were given more limitations. And then when they actually became successful, their homes got burned to the ground. What you were talking about when you said, you were talking about when you and your friend were potentially getting mugged, and that, you know, the black kid pulled out the knife and was like, "Get on your knees." Do you have any idea? The weight of his choice to even do that? 1, brave. 2, boneheaded. Don't go wielding knives at people, dude. Like, that's not cool.
Yeah.
But do you understand, like, did it even occur to you that he might have taken that action because it's something that he saw, or something that might have happened to one of his loved ones? Something that goes on and on and on and on every day.
What if it was one of his loved ones that did it to someone else?
What do you mean?
I mean, I'm saying that maybe he didn't learn it from somebody that was bad to his loved one. Maybe it was his loved one was bad to someone else.
Well, that's very possible, Charlie. But the fact that your first inclination as a white dude is to think, oh, well, his dad must be an ex-convict or something for him to act that way.
Yeah.
That's what you said out of your mouth. That's called implicit bias.
Somebody actually told me that area was an area of ex. Someone put that seed in my mind, so that's probably where I got it from.
Well, guess what? The areas where black people are forced to live are crime-ridden. I say that in quotes if you're just listening through earbuds. But it's a statistical disparity, because black men are prosecuted and incarcerated in far greater scale than white men.
Yeah, I wanted to point out that Singed Man
actually
says...
So if you're interested in data and things, yes, Singed Man. People do boneheaded things, yes. But that's not what the conversation is right now. And you've had a horrible background. I'm so sorry about that. But that's not what the conversation is now.
Yeah.
And it's not about, oh, well, the skin color is the identity. That's not even, no one thinks that.
Well, so
this is a group of people, all God's children, to go back to what you said in the beginning. Everyone, if you believe in a Christian faith, created in God's image. Every single human is created in God's image. All the colors. And don't say you're colorblind. God created color intentionally. It's to be celebrated. It is to be noticed and celebrated and embraced and understood. But right now, like I said to you on the phone last night, if something was going on and someone was roughing up one of your siblings, it's okay for you to do something about it and speak up. Or clock a guy if they were roughing up your sister. And so if God were looking at this, as a whole, so yes, a lot of times children who wield knives have criminal parents. Yes, okay, that's a possibility. We get it. That's not the conversation right now. Great. Now where was I? I see how you're saying the chat is distracting.
I know. I need to leave it alone. Sorry. Go ahead.
So if God, we know God sees all of this and his heart is broken over the division. I wholeheartedly believe that. But he's letting us duke it out. And I think if someone went to God as our parent and was like, hey, Derek Chauvin is killing George Floyd over here, he'd be like, do something about it. I gave you a brain. I sent Jesus to teach the world about justice. And by the way, what happened to him? What happened to him? He was a threat to the leadership and he was murdered. Does anyone remember that?
See, the problem that I have with the perception that somebody has of that situation is that it's the automatic default is racism. And I don't necessarily think it isn't racism. It could be racism, but it's just a white cop on a black guy that causes people to be so angry, I think.
Is that all? This is what I mean by doing some research, Charlie. You've got to look at all sides of the story. Look at the rest of the photograph, not just Derek Chauvin kneeling on George Floyd's neck. Look at the other side of the car where there were 2 other officers holding him down, like as if he needed to be held down. And another officer standing with his back to them, letting it happen. I have not even watched the whole video because every time I see the clip of him losing consciousness, I think I'm going to pass out and throw up. One or the other, not necessarily in that order.
Yeah.
But people on the curb, because I know people are getting flack for why were they just standing there? They were screaming at the cops to stop. The man can't breathe. The man isn't moving. Stop. Get off of him.
Yeah.
So now, after a week of protests, all of 4 officers were arrested. That's good.
Do you know that they had a history? The cop and they were like working a nightclub or something together. Yeah, or they were both bouncers. I forget exactly what they were, but
right. So it's possible that Officer Chauvin had a vendetta. Who knows? Yeah. But it's not an isolated incident, Charlie. This shit happens all the time.
See, this is the research that I definitely will do because I know statistics are hard to argue against, I guess you could say. I guess it depends on the source of statistics too, because sometimes one person or one area is projecting like one statistic, and then you'll get something completely different from someone else. But I feel like I am operating from ignorance as far as the statistics are concerned, because I don't know. I know that there probably are a lot of black people that die at the hands of white cops. But I've heard that there's a lot of black
people die at the hands of white and black cops. Lots of people
I feel like
are
it's
killed
both.
by police brutality. So that's a whole other conversation. Police brutality is an issue that transcends skin color, but it is more problematic in the black community. And Black Lives Matter is simply saying, look at us, help us. Help us. No civil rights progress was made just from black people. Do you know there were white people helping with the Underground Railroad? There were white people marching across the bridge in Selma. They need our help.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean,
that's nice to hear.
I think that, okay. See, I've never had a personal experience where I feel like black people didn't get any or get less opportunity, I guess you could say.
That's okay if you haven't had that experience, but that doesn't mean it's not true. To go back to what you're saying about perception being reality, that's your reality. That is not the collective reality.
Like I look back at history too and see that Asian people were very suppressed too, and put in camps and stuff to
every people group. Irish. Yeah. I am a descendant of
Irish people Irish. Too. Exactly.
I'm Black Irish, which means that my Irish ancestors were likely raped by Spaniards who were occupying their land, and here I am with my light skin and my dark curly hair.
Yeah.
You know, I can't carry shame for that because I am who I am. But I can be aware and I can fight for people that don't have a voice.
I think that we're closer to where your ultimate goal is than we've ever been. That's for sure. Like, I mean,
I agree.
Granted, granted, I feel like there are people still dragging their feet in the freaking mud trying to, prevent.
Well, there are some that, let me tell you a story, okay? It's Father's Day. I don't want to slander my dad online, but I have to tell you a story, okay?
Okay.
My dad has his head in the sand about what's going on racially, and he just thinks it's not a problem, that it's overblown. My parents live in Central Valley, like Fresno area, and they go to a very white church, and there's one black pastor on staff. And he was sharing a story about being in a park, having a gathering, socially distance responsible, gathering in the park with his congregants. And a cop car pulled up, and the pastor, his initial reaction was fear. His initial reaction was, uh-oh. And my dad's stance is, he didn't need to feel that way. He was mistaken to feel that way. All right. As it turns out, the cop was a friend. But the fact that that was his first thought, wrong. Wrong.
Do you remember when I was telling you I was around a bunch of like freaking low life people growing up? My step family always, like, they grew weed in my freaking closet so they can get away with it. You know what I'm saying?
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, that's
remember, I'm on the radical left.
Oh yeah, well.
Don't judge weed growers.
Unless they do it outside of my will. Anyways, but they were hoping that I got in trouble if anyone was ever caught because it was in my closet. So anyways, or they would never suspect me to be the guy that would ever grow weed in my closet. Anyways, so enough rabbit trail. So I kind of had that knee-jerk feeling too when I was a kid, when cops came around. I was scared.
Yeah, me too. I see them drive by and I'm like, oh, I hope everything's okay. But you know what, Charlie? I never think I'm going to die.
They used to call cops pigs all the time.
I might die. What?
They always called cops pigs, like when I was growing up. Like, fuck the police. Yeah. They would say stuff like that. And even though that's a rap song, but they would say that kind of stuff. Like, let's kill the pigs, And crap, YouTube's probably going to, delete this video because of that. I'm telling you, they freaking target my channel because of this kind of stuff. So, anyways, so yeah, I kind of had a knee-jerk feeling of when cops came around too. And to be honest with you, I felt like I walked on eggshells with black people growing up too, because I felt like I wasn't sure how to be. Because I felt like they always called me white boy. Hey, white boy. Things like that. I would never freaking say, hey, black boy.
No, you
things
can't.
I see. I feel like it's a different level.
Well, okay, so with certain friends, you probably could.
Yeah.
But like going back to relationship, you brought up relationship is key. Yeah. And I was saying to you on the phone, be yourself.
Yeah.
Be yourself, but don't sound stupid. At least put your back into it a little bit when it comes to educating yourself.
Yeah. I related better.
I started to type when you started to say black athletes are superior. Oh, I started to type real fast and then I deleted it because I didn't even know where to begin to poke holes in the flaws of that statement.
Yeah, I kind of retracted a little bit because I started saying, well, there are other people who are athletes. I mean, it's a perception thing, though. I've seen a lot more black athletes that are standout athletes. I mean, not to say that that's, like a black thing across the board. It's not.
Well, there are some actual physiological body types that are more geared towards running, like those that live near the equator in Africa, and they can run miles and miles and miles and miles and miles and miles. But you can't say black people are good athletes because they're built to run. That is ignorance. That is an ignorant statement. Nope. Some people are built to run and happen to have black skin. Some people are built to run and they happen to have white skin.
But I pointed out that this guy, Gene Betancourt, this other white guy, ran a 4:09 mile. He was freaking fast. He was a white guy. There was a Hispanic guy who were super fast too.
So like that's the thing.
I know.
I'm just encouraging you to pause and listen to what's about to come out of your mouth going forward. I'm just asking you to do that. To just and when you say walking on eggshells, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. To want to be sensitive. I was driving with some very dear friends of mine to a women's conference one day, and was a Black friend and her mother. And we were talking about jobs and promotions and stuff. And I said something about making slave wages, and the car was silent. And I was like, oh my gosh, you guys, I can't say that, can I? And they were like, no, no, you can't say that. No, you can't say that. So yeah, I felt stupid, but it only took one time saying that. And then I was like, oh my gosh, what other things do I say that are completely insensitive and ignorant?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's just about awareness, Charlie, really, when it comes to just identity, like you were talking about. And if you want to start somewhere, just start with your own awareness of what's coming out of your mouth and where it's coming from. You guys can't see, but my hands are going like this. This little thumbnail is like, you can't see all my grand arm gestures that I'm doing on the side.
You got to back up a little bit. I'm just kidding.
And my camera's backwards, so it's like I'm confused. But anyway.
Yeah. I don't know. How do you feel about the saying perception is reality?
Perception is your reality.
Yeah, everybody's perception is everybody's reality. That's kind of the point that I'm trying to make, is that everybody perceives a certain way, and that's the reality.
So you were talking about like being presented with a crime scene and seeing the same evidence, and 5 different people might have different interpretations of the evidence. Let me tell you, more than 5 people are interpreting the evidence in the same way right now.
If somebody is getting their freaking neck, like with a knee squished on their neck, then yeah, that guy's getting choked out. But the perception is it a race, or is it a vendetta, or is it it could be a matter of anything. But the Black person looks at that and says, oh, that's my brother getting strangled out right now. Yeah, they're going to say that seems racist because there's a white dude on his neck. But it could have been a vendetta because they work together. That could be or what you're saying.
All 4 of those cops didn't work with him. 3 of them didn't.
Oh, because they let it happen. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's.
And cops get away with this shit
they all got reprimanded
all the time. They get away with it. They get away with murder.
And I believe that's true.
Are you trying to? I'm sorry, Char. Are you trying to talk? I'm sorry. Now I'm just treating you like my friend's little brother.
Are you still friends with Val, or is she too right for you now?
We are friends, but I don't follow her because I don't understand her stances. Maybe that makes me a hypocrite because I'm asking you to be open-minded.
I know. See, I actually thought about that.
But see, I'm aware of it. I'm aware.
See, that's where I'm different than most other people, though, in that sense, because I feel like I'm willing to give someone a platform to talk about their position and try to analyze why they would feel the way they do, and why we believe different perspectives based on the same evidence. See, I believe that influence, foundation, and I'm going to make reference to the foundation that's built on the rock, can, if you actually look at the Sermon on the Mount, this is my philosophical perspective. Jesus was actually talking about a philosophy. People say, oh, stop worrying about those vain philosophies. I believe that Jesus was actually talking about the wise man builds his house on the rock foundation and not on the sand foundation, because if you think that you have a good foundation on sand, then it's going to get washed away in the wind or whatever, or this tide. So basically, I think that what he's projecting is that we filter everything through that foundation of belief. And if it is not a rock, it's not going to stand firm. So I believe that when you, so like I have this teaching, quote unquote, called the paradigm of truth. And I started analyzing truth. Like, what is truth? Like, everybody has their own truth, and everybody says, well, I have my truth and you have your truth. And that actually kind of pisses me off when people say that, because I feel like truth is not always subjective. It actually is pretty cut and dry, usually. And I believe that if you hold your own feet to the fire and allow yourself to be refined in fire, and you know the Brian Dirksen song. Mm-hmm. I actually just referenced that in my last video. So, but I feel like if you are just trying to promote an agenda and not listening, it's like the proverb that says, I don't know, I forget exactly what I'm talking about, but there are proverbs that actually talk about. It's
like having a wife on a leaky roof or something.
No, be quick to listen and slow to speak. That's what my grandma used to always say to me, mm-hmm. Even though she was the one that was always saying it. So, and you knew my grandma, so she freaking was always like this eccentric, like.
I met her a couple times.
Oh, you didn't really get to know her very well, did you?
No.
Well, she would like be crying when we got home from Wednesday night church. She's like, you were home at such a late hour, and I've been waiting up for you, and I just don't even know what you kids are doing. And it's like, we were at church, Grandma.
That's cute.
Anyways, but yeah, I mean, I miss my grandma.
So what are you asking me?
So when I'm saying that everybody should hold their feet to the fire, I think that involves a lot of listening, which actually you've done for the Black Lives Matter movement.
And I still am.
Yeah. But I feel like considering the foundation, which you've actually been in a similar foundation as I was growing up, I would assume. I don't know. I mean.
So I was thinking about this wise man building his house on a rock thing just yesterday.
Oh, really? Synchronicity.
And, yep. And for those of you watching and listening, Charlie and I have actually had the same scriptures in our minds the last couple of days, which is, I think, indicative that God is moving.
Yeah.
And he wants us to have these conversations. That's my belief. But listen, God said, build your house on a rock, not under a rock. Which I have a lot of
don't cover your light.
The way that I was raised, I feel like I was raised under a rock a lot of days. And I'm waking up. I'm understanding now the realities of the ugly world that's out there. And in so many ways, I'm super naive. But in other ways, I'm, as they say, woke or getting.
Oh, you're woke?
Not quite. I'm getting there.
Are you a truther? Just kidding. All right, go ahead.
I hope so. The prayer in my heart my whole life has been, God, I just want to tell the truth. I want to speak the truth. I don't want to be saying things that dishonor you. I just want to speak the truth. So I do see a comment from Dominic Frost, the Frosty.
What, this one?
How many realities? Yeah. How many realities are there to consider? Well, I don't know the population of the world, but everyone has one, and everyone's life experience is valid. I believe that. It's just that everyone's life experience is not the conversation right now. That's not. It's like, so you've seen these memes of like, a house is on fire and one person has a hose, but they're watering their own house, and they're like, I know the house is on fire, but my house is important too, and I need to protect it. And the other person's like, but we need water over here. And they're like, yeah, well, if they had just safeguarded their house and blah, 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 blah. And then by the end of the meme, the person burned up in the house because the other person thought their house mattered more or wasn't important in that moment. Same thing, there's a meme with a pen of sheep that are all holding signs that say all sheep matter. And in the same frame, Jesus is walking away from them to go find the little sheep that's on the edge of the cliff that needs his help in that moment. That's the conversation that I'm having. So the Frosty, that's my reality right now.
They're trying to clarify
one particular conversation.
Like how many perspectives, going back to the other question, I guess, how many realities are there to consider? I don't know.
All of ours that are in the conversation, we are considering each other's realities.
Yeah. So, and when you were saying I should get somebody on here that is a Black Lives Matter advocate in this area, that might be somebody who's qualified or whatever. I mean, I want to actually give someone who's Black an opportunity to talk about it, because I
think that would be great in the right context, because like I told you on the phone yesterday, there are a lot of Black people right now that are like, white person, stop asking me questions. Do your homework. I'm not here to spell it out for. We've been screaming out for justice for years. Now that you're listening, you figure it out. So there is some of that too. And that's part of refinement, Charlie.
The problem about doing homework, though, is that there's so many sources that are projecting information that are conflicting.
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Because I have a resource.
Yeah, give me some resources.
A curated collection of information about what.
Why can't I get on your website? Can you tell me that?
It's .info.
That's what I did, and it didn't work.
You said .org.
Well,
we belong to each other .info.
Here, I'll try it again, but it wasn't working when I did it the first time. Hold on a second.
We belong to each other .info.
We belong to each other .info. Search. So I tried to do it in the search bar or the address bar, and it didn't work.
I always have to do the dang HTTPS.
Oh, is that what it is?
/ www. Whatever. Do the full URL.
Is it www?
Yes.
Wait. Oh shoot! Are you kidding me?
Here, you shouldn't have to put it in there, but it might.
HTTPS / or colon / I don't even know. Yes, and then www. We'll try this and see if it works.
We belong to each other. I put it in the chat.
Oh, hold on.
Well, I didn't do the W's. Oh.
What is wrong with you? Let's see here. So for anybody listening and willing to take Jessica up on her offer or recommendation to do their homework, go check out her site. I didn't see it come up on the comments here.
My cousin and I built this site. She did most of the building. I helped her with the content, and under the guidance of one of my Black pastors, I go to a multi-ethnic church in Sacramento, California.
Oh my gosh, it's coming up.
I'm telling you, it's a rich resource of information. So we wanted to do something, and we were told by our Black friends, use your privilege for good. Use your voice, use your platform for good. And we found all these resources, and there are links to blogs and videos and books and articles and even just little memes about what white privilege is, all in one website. So if you need a place to start, we belong to each other.info. Just explore the site. Just explore the site. Get some books in your mind. Thank you, Charlie. Look at our pretty website.
See, this is I was just trying to get my sharing thing pulled up here. So so I'm going to go through this, and again, so
Frosty,
like,
are you seeing this?
Frosty?
I see your comments. I like this Dominic character.
Hold on, I gotta see who oh, sorry, I gotta go back to the, hold on. I'm trying to see the chat now. Maybe I should look at my phone. But so again, like I like to analyze things and try to understand the fullness of things through the filter of intelligence, I guess you could say. And for me, when somebody, so like that video that you said was missing the point that I made today, Ross
it was shifting the conversation.
Well, it was two different opinions. The one guy freaking was advocating almost like he was coming from your perspective. And then the other guy was saying, well, hold on. I kind of disagree with you, because when you start bringing in skin color, you're bringing in racism. And now he is not addressing the part where there is racism happening in the world. So I mean, yeah, you got to address that too. And so anyways, I think
Dr. Butter.
Yeah,
or Batar. I read it as Dr. Butter.
Right. Yeah.
He did not seem to me. It did not seem to me like he has, as much as he's a doctor, it does not seem to me like he's had any kind of training regarding cultural sensitivity. Because if he did, he wouldn't have mentioned anything about color blindness or color not being significant. Color is hella important. Yeah, when I moved to Sacramento, I started saying hella, by the way. It's important. It's significant.
The only
thing... It carries weight.
Yeah. So
and it doesn't make a person racist to see color. Children notice, like he was saying, his child notices color. That's good. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's when you make it taboo to talk about that there's a problem. And when you teach your children, look what it says.
But I am not racist. The hell you aren't.
We all are.
I'll show you where you're racist. I'm sorry.
So Charlie, you haven't even explored my website yet?
I could. Well, I've been busy. Don't you know? Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me go back to this.
So listen. I need to get off the phone.
All right.
Or computer, whatever technology I'm on. It's been an hour and a half.
Livestream.
I appreciate you bringing up this conversation.
Okay.
Maybe we can continue it further, but bro, you've got to read some more stuff. You've got to learn some more about the basics of what white privilege is, the basics of systemic racism. And there's a lot on this website that we have literally spelled out for y'all. And I just would like to say this, that we built this, my cousin Rochelle and I, we built this website under the prayerful guidance of worship leader and pastor Melinda Watts. She happens to be a Dove award-winning Grammy singer. No big deal. But we were very careful about it because we did not want it to be perceived as, here are these two white chicks that are like, hey guys, we have something to say. Look what we made. Because that's not what it's about. We did some research, we're learning, and we wanted to make it simple for people who want a place to start.
So by the way, when you said that you shouldn't be on the soapbox yet or whatever, I felt like I don't think anybody should have that belief in thinking that their words are not.
Oh, thank you, Charlie.
Aren't powerful.
And I don't mean that at all. I know that my words are powerful and your words are powerful. But that was part of my caution too.
Is that if you said the wrong thing, maybe?
No, I'm not really afraid of saying the wrong thing. I told you I was afraid of being backed into a corner because a lot of these YouTubers are a little militant. But I know you. And
I've been pretty nice, right?
But I just, yes, but you've also gone on for an hour and a half in circles.
Yeah.
When I really think that there is a point. And if you really want to learn about the Black Lives Matter movement, musing on about your life experience isn't going to enlighten you. And I'm not trying to diminish your life experience.
I'm trying to give a perspective on why people have foundations that project belief.
Then don't call your YouTube chat conversation on Black Lives Matter.
I'm saying that it's okay. This is the reason I feel like I want to get involved, because I feel like they're trying to shut white people up, or people that don't understand.
It's time for us to shut up.
Well,
it's time for us to shut up if we're opposing the cause of value.
I'm not opposing it, though. That's not what I'm saying. I say that, you know, like that one guy was saying on that video, like, you know, when someone says Black Lives Matter, yeah, Black Lives Matter, and then just shut up. That's what he was saying.
Did you see the quote that I made by Rick Warren, white mega church pastor from Southern California? He says, when you're dealing with people that are hurting, and this was a conversation, this was in the context of a racial justice oriented conversation, by the way. He said, when you're dealing with people that are hurting, show up and shut up.
Yeah.
That's why I felt like I wasn't wanting to come onto this chat and be like, I got something to say, because I'm still learning. I'm in the sit down, shut up and listen mode. But you, as my brother, almost literally, you know, my best friend's little brother, I care about what you think, and I care about the influence you have, and I care about talking to you about it. I was hesitant to have this be a public conversation.
Yeah, I mean, see, that a lot of people think that, but I feel like,
Dominic, I see your comments.
Yeah, I was gonna post that, but I didn't want to distract you. And again, I try to share. This is why I feel a lot of people get involved, because they learn more from other people's interactions. Mm-hmm. And so, like, for me, that I remember when I was like trying to, you know, just cram stuff into my brain, I was listening to debates, two different perspectives coming together and trying to, you know, give their reason for one way or the other. And it's like, you know, when somebody is just listening to one side of the story, it's almost better to listen to a debate, because then you can. And I didn't want to preface this as like, oh, let's have a debate, Jessica, because I didn't want to say, oh, this is a debate. No, I wanted to say it was a discussion, because, you know, debating has a negative connotation, and it actually sounds like I'm trying to shut you down. No, I'm not. I'm trying to share my thoughts. I want you to share your thoughts, but I really want to understand your thoughts, and I want to understand your foundation. I want to understand, you know, the hurt and the pain behind the motivation that you have. I want to understand the hurt. I want you to understand the hurt and the pain that motivates me. And so you're saying that, you know, to not call it a truth channel. I'm trying to say that maybe when somebody is searching for truth, there's a few tools that you need to identify that you can use to help get you there faster. And
somehow I'm not tracking with you. I didn't say anything about the truth channel. What?
No. I'm saying that I thought you said something like maybe you shouldn't have truth in the name of this channel or something like that.
No. You called this chat unpacking the concept of Black Lives Matter.
Oh, okay.
But your intention, from what you said, is if you wanted to be talking about your foundation and where you're coming from and your perspectives. And so, you know, it took an hour to get to the Black Lives Matter topic.
Yeah. Well, gosh, I'm sorry. I'm getting Dominic just has a lot to say.
And you guys, I gotta go. I gotta sign up. It's Father's Day, and my husband he's
being ignored right now.
For me, I mean, he's got stuff to do. He's
yeah.
I really appreciate.
Yeah. My wife recognizes this as something that's important to me, so that she's like, "You do it," and then you know, when you're done, hang out with me. It might be a good time for me to be done too. But no, I'll give you some closing thoughts, and then I'll hang out for a few minutes and just say bye to everybody, and then we'll call it a night. But go ahead.
Me give closing thoughts? What?
Yeah, you give closing thoughts. Give your closing thoughts. and then you can go.
Okay, first of all, how do I get back to being able to type into the comments so I can just type the damn URL for these people?
Oh, do you want me to put it in there? Hold on. Let me grab this
please.
here. Copy. Sorry, I should have done this already. So for anybody listening, go to this website. And then
well, okay, now you just, that's not the homepage, but
hold on.
Thank you.
Sorry, I did the racist one. Sorry. Whoa. let me get over to the homepage. I'll do it again. Dang it. My internet's slow right now. I hope I'm not losing you here.
Me?
Well, my internet is like not moving, so I just thought maybe if the internet's not moving on this page, it's not moving on the live stream either. Okay, let's try this one. Don't necessarily disregard the other one, but if you want to go to the home page, here you go.
Yeah.
There it is. Okay.
That's the one.
That's the one. Anybody wanting to
really
learn?
The we belong to each other thing. It's a Mother Teresa quote. It says, if we have no peace, it is because we have forgotten that we belong to each other. That's Mother Teresa. And so what I was saying earlier about we're all in God's family. We're all his children. We all look like him. All of us created in his image. And so what would God say about all of this? I think it's because his kids are forgetting that we belong to each other. It is our job as humans to have each other's backs. And I don't mean have the cops back when he's getting away with murder. I don't mean protecting crookedness. I mean humanity. The Frosty brought up the word empathy. Try and understand. Put yourself in someone's shoes. You know, I have friends that are mixed marriages, white women married to black men, that they'll get pulled over, and the cops ask the wife, "Are you okay, ma'am?" It happens to everyone. Ask any mixed couple, "Are you okay, ma'am?" Yeah, this is my husband. Why is that so normal? And you don't hear about that. But that's what we're up against. Generations of systemic oppression. And it is time to speak up. But those of us with less melanin in our skin, we need to listen hard first and read and look at history. I'm listening to one Ibram X. Kendi book and reading another. I'm reading How to Be an Anti-Racist, which is actually is out of stock nationwide. So I got it from an ebook. And I'm listening to Stamped from the Beginning, also by Ibram X. Kendi. And it's about slavery worldwide, the history of slavery globally, the origins of it, the origins of systemic oppression. And How to Be an Anti-Racist is, how do I come out of that? And in his prologue, Mr. Kendi says that he was racist as a child against white people. And he had good reason to be, because in his experience, in his perception, to circle back to what you said earlier, in his perception, white people were evil. He had to unlearn what he had learned.
Yeah, I think it needs to happen from both ends. Like black people perceive that white people are not accepting of them. And then white people think that black people maybe, oh, I got to tell, I saw, it wasn't a meme. There was a video or something. Maybe it was a meme where they were saying that it wasn't really a meme. It was just some information about this black boxer that was like world champ. He was the first world champion boxer that was black. And he ended up getting thrown in prison or something for something. I don't know what the deal was, but he invented the wrench because he was kind of an entrepreneur, inventor or whatever. But they called it a monkey wrench.
Oh, dear Lord.
Did you know that?
I did not.
You know that it's still stuck, and to this day people are calling it a monkey wrench. Wow.
I know they call it that, but I didn't know why.
Yeah,
That's effed up.
I
That's
admit that there has been a lot of racism, and to be honest with you, nobody thinks race when they think of monkey wrench. But I'm going to have to say that there's something here.
so listen. There's other stuff you can do. You can get into your minds that's less cerebral as far as like sitting and reading a book or listening to an 18-hour audiobook. Watch a movie. Watch Just Mercy, which is free to stream right now.
I like black movies.
Did you see it? Did you see Just Mercy?
No. I haven't watched a lot of movies.
Classic example of systemic racism that did not take place that long ago. Remember the Titans? Watch that movie.
I love Denzel Washington. I have seen that, I believe, but it's been a while.
Watch it again.
Wait, I got to tell everybody the story just real quick about my baby that's coming. His name is Eli.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I haven't told anybody this except for you.
So, Char, can I let you tell them because I've heard this and I'm going to go. And I love you, my brother.
All right. I love you too.
You know that, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, don't think that I'm judgmental in any way as far as that goes.
Okay, I'm going to leave. You guys, everyone watching, listening, stay open-minded. Thank you for hanging out with Charlie. He's a good man. He's good people. All right.
Thank you.
Peace.
Peace. All right. Well, anyways. So yeah, my boy, his name's Eli, and he's about 21 weeks in and baking in the oven. And basically, I watched the movie The Book of Eli with Denzel Washington. And one of my favorite movies, to be honest with you. I thought it was a really good movie. And basically, I liked his character, so that name kind of stuck with me. And he was kind of like a post-apocalyptic crusader, you might say. And he was protecting the Bible because there was a modern day book burning. So just to kind of quickly revert to the nature of this channel, that's one thing I'm trying to protect against is the modern day book burning. I feel like there's a lot of that kind of stuff happening. So for anybody that wasn't aware, that name Eli means a lot to me, and Denzel Washington is a black guy, and whatever. Sometimes I feel like this conversation is a little silly, but maybe that's just an example of me like saying, why would you spray a house that isn't burning with water? I don't see any houses burning. Maybe there's something there. But again, I think it's good to keep an open mind from all perspectives, whether it be right or left. If somebody's speaking from their heart and not just operating from ignorance, I feel like it's good to listen to people and hear what they have to say and not just project your own bias. So for anybody that's still here with me, I appreciate you listening. And I know I have a tendency of bouncing around. It's hard for me to talk to myself sometimes. I kind of jump around from thought to thought. But again, I appreciate it. If you haven't liked, you give a thumbs up to this video. Hopefully this kind of conversation could be put out to the world more often, because I believe it's important to lift people up and show them that you care. So anyways, that's basically all I have to say about that. So I will talk to you guys later down the road. I'll come up with some more topics to discuss on the live stream, and I'll continue to post videos. So if you haven't already, subscribe and click on the bell so that you can hear future videos. What are you talking about, Thomas? That was a movie. What, the Book of Eli? Yeah, the Book of Eli was a movie. Anyways, yeah, guys, we'll talk to you here down the road. So have a good night, okay? Or a good day or wherever you're at in the world. So, all right, we'll talk to you later. Bye.